the names properly, but maybe it would be best if I ask you all to introduce yourselves and say a little bit about the work that you do.
Thank you, Jen. Nezha Al-Rissi. I'm president and co-founder of ISTEM Morocco, which is an NGO that focuses on we focus on digital inclusion of girls between the age of 8 and 18. And I came to this passion after 25 years working in the corporate world for the government and being a tech engineer myself.
I'm Veronica Lancaster. I'm a vice president of standards at Consumer Technology Association, working with Janine. And I'm also the president of the U.S. National Committee of the International Electrotechnical Commission, which is an international standardization organization. And I'm very passionate about diversity, equity, and inclusion in tech because there's so much that women bring to not only engineering and STEM occupations, but also to standardization. And I'll have examples of those stories later in our conversation.
Hello, everyone. My name is Aminata Bassen. So I've been working in finance, corporate finance, for 20 years. And I'm also actively involved in non-governmental organization who help promote entrepreneurs and people from the diaspora, African diaspora, to get more integrated and more involved in the development of their home country. And now I am working with entrepreneurs from Africa. So I help them and I encourage them to invest or create jobs with impact in their home country or in another African country, using tech and innovation. Thank you.
Wonderful. Earlier we were talking amongst ourselves, and we decided we'd like to make this more conversational, less like direct Q&A. And we kind of broke it down into a few areas. The challenges we see from young girls aspirationally seeing, I can be an engineer, or I can learn STEM, or I can be in tech, right? So then there's that to them getting hired. And then the third being getting promoted into leadership roles. And then the last one was more kind of a focus on how women play a role in consumerism. So starting with the first one, that very first gap of young girls, I think a lot of the issue that we get with women, it starts at a very early age. Like they're given a doll as opposed to, a puzzle or something, more complicated. So from all of your perspectives, what do you think is important to kind of help start at that age to bridge that gap and to give those kind of skills to young girls?
So the work of ISTEM Morocco is really rooted in the reality of Morocco. So today we face a major challenge, which is female labor rate decreasing over the past 20 years. It went from 30% in 99 to around 18% today. And Morocco, in the past few years, we developed a national strategy towards a vision for 2035. It has 15 indicators to measure our progress as a nation towards this vision. One of them is the female labor rate. It is expected to be at 45% in 35. So our concern is how to bend that decreasing curve and really achieve that objective. So for us, an 11 years old today will turn 22 in 11 years. So we start working at an early age to develop entrepreneurial mindset, self-confidence, interest and passion for math, and also understanding what kind of jobs will be there in the future. We live in an era of AI transformation, and probably the jobs that exist today won't exist in the future. So definitely the civil society, and this is the job that we do at ISTEM, is to support the academic path, which is maybe slow to adopt this technology in the curricula. Morocco is doing really great job in increasing the number of tech engineers that get trained and skilled every year. but the demand worldwide is huge, and we know there is a war for talent. So our role is to prepare these girls, to enlighten them, to accompany them, to give them self-confidence that they can dream big, to know also that there won't be a salary or like an employee type of occupation for everyone in the country. So they need to be entrepreneurial and know that by developing those skills, they can address the whole globe as a market. So for us, and we see this on a daily basis. So I lead a team that is passionate every day about creating and designing programs. And we exist for the past 11 years. And at a moment, we did a stop in our programming, and we said, how can we be relevant for a girl in Ouarzazate today, which is down in the south of Morocco? In Morocco, over the past few years, there was a big effort in bringing kids to school, and especially efforts like, for example, we have special board rooms for girls called Dar Taliba to bridge that gap between the girl living in a rural village and the city where the middle and high school exists. So we said, okay, this girl knows that she would study for 12 years to get her baccalaureate, which is the equivalent of grade 12 here. How can we go from what she knows? So we developed something called the Power Book. Power Book simply is the summary of all the extracurricular activities that she will be doing, tech competitions, exchange programs, volunteering work, so that she knows since the age of 8, when she gets on our T-Treat platform, she knows that in 12 years, if she keeps being engaged in the programs we offer, she can graduate at the same time she has her baccalaureate, she would have her Power Book, and then she can be ready and relevant for her university applications, relevant for the job market. And while doing so, we develop self-confidence, we develop soft skills, plus all the tech and entrepreneurial programs. We have mentorship programs, we represent the Technovation Girls, which is the biggest global competition for mobile apps development for girls. And we keep designing programs, and we build on a simple idea. If you experience things, if you get yourself exposed to as many opportunities as possible, this is where you grow your skills. This is where you can be ready and fearless and approach your future with lucidity and knowledge.
I think that's so important that you're mentoring and spending a number of years with these girls, because that's really the key. So when they're young, they are told, as you said, Janine, oh, you're so beautiful, here, play with this doll. But rather than saying, you're so smart, or saying, you're so great at math, let me get you involved in a physics class, right? I mean, we have to teach our girls that it's okay to be strong, it's okay to be powerful, and it's good, actually. They'll change the world. So I think mentoring is a huge part of that. One of the things that I try to do myself is get involved with middle and high school girls and boys and girls clubs to make sure that they can see examples of what they can be as they continue to grow.
Yeah, I agree. I think that these are great initiatives. I think that the change has to come at home, and it starts with the education we give out to our children, and especially our girls. You need to teach our girls that it's okay to be bold, it's okay to disagree and to say it when you don't agree. It's okay to be assertive, etc. So it starts really at home, and we all have a responsibility, mothers and fathers also, to teach that. And what I try to do also at home with my daughter, she's 13, and I try to encourage her to study sciences, also to say, okay, no, math is not only for boys or for men, etc. So there's no gender related to position or something. So I think it's important to teach them and to repeat this so that she can just integrate this kind of statement, and so that when she grows up, she does not self-sabotage herself. So she doesn't choose, I don't know, non-scientific studies because it's shorter or because it will be simpler for her to have like a work-life balance, etc. So that she makes her own choices.
I think you made a really good point where you said, mothers and fathers. So I have a daughter who's studying to be a civil engineer at Virginia Tech. And the first day of school, she went into class and she was one of 4 girls in a class of like 80 kids. And it was funny because she called me and she was like telling me this, and I was like, "Oh, I'm sorry, honey." And she goes, "No, it's great. It's actually not great," but she was saying it's great because slim selections, right, for the guys. But it does send a picture that when I look back, my husband is very scientific, and he always was a very good role model in encouraging her with science and math, and because her brain worked that way. And I think that's so important. We talk a lot about how women can mentor women. It's really also how men can mentor women all throughout all of the levels we're discussing. But jumping from that to the next level. So here is my daughter in college, and when she graduates, she's going to go for a job. And in the United States, she might have a better chance of getting the job because she's a woman, because there is an initiative to make sure they have more gender equality. Like that or not, right? I think it's super important. And my question to all of you is, how do you feel like that is happening in all around the world and culturally, and what have you seen and what have you experienced? Like, how do we close the gap too? Like, not only do we teach the young girls science and math, and then how do they get the job, right?
Again, I would like to share some statistics in Morocco. So I shared we have this issue of, in Morocco, surprisingly, our rate of female engineers outperforms the male. It's 58%. Wow. So the question is, why is it that when we go to the job market, this rate flips? And here, there was a study done by the HCP releasing some statistics on the Moroccan woman over 20 years, from 2000 to 2020. And we could see clearly there is a correlation between when they get the first child and the rate of dropping out of the job market. And this was proved also in the work leading to the new model, new development model I talked about, the vision for 2035. One of the reasons is transport. So sometimes women, when they do the math of how much they get from that salary versus how much they need to pay a nanny and to pay the transport, it's not interesting for them. So this is why, to answer your question, I mean, us coming from the tech industry, we have a tremendous role to play, which is showing that tech and digital skills can be accessible so that these women can foresee for themselves entrepreneurial projects that they can lead from home. An engineer can foresee themselves that they can work from home for maybe a company in Washington, D.C. or in Asia. So, and personally, I believe that the era of artificial intelligence is an amazing opportunity for women, because for the first time in history, it democratizes access to digital skills. I need just to know how to prompt a GPT, how to talk, how to express my need in plain language, and the machine would do for me, the code would deliver for me the app. And again, I believe in the power of these kind of events on the civil society, the academic world, also the private sector world. We need to lead pan-national efforts just to get digital skills democratized. And I mean, the same way at a certain time, many people in countries didn't know how to read and how to calculate math. Now, digital skills, and especially leapfrogging directly to the AI era, should be at the core of the national strategy, the AI national strategy of every country.
Yeah, I think what what would be really eye-opening for all of you to know is that we were talking about this before we came on stage. Women actually contribute a significant amount of spending to the world economy. I read a recent Harvard Business Review study where currently women make, in the U.S. about 73% of the purchasing decision, but globally, that's 85%. That is worth $20 billion today, but in the future, it's going to be worth $28 trillion with a T. And so when it comes to tech, female entrepreneurs have to think about the fact that as women, we have certain needs and we should be helping ourselves meet those needs. In fact, in standardization, I'm going to tell you another crazy story. In standardization, most of the engineers, back in the early days of our technology boom, they were writing standards, men writing standards for men. So in the US, we still use a male crash test dummy for crash testing. Now, in 2022, Astrid Linder
in
created
automobiles.
she created the first female crash test dummy. And what's interesting, though, is only Volvo uses that. So within the US, all of our US manufacturers, they don't use that. Now, they use a male crash test dummy. And even though we have widely different anatomies and, we are more likely, in fact, we are 73% more likely to be killed or seriously injured in a car crash because we're using male crash test dummies made by men for men. In fact, they don't use a female, they use a 12 or 13-year-old male to represent the female in a crash test. That's only representative of 5%, less than 5% of females in the US. So it should be shocking to all of us, right? We shouldn't buy those cars that don't use female crash test dummies because we're more likely to be killed or injured.
That's a very good point.
Looks like Volvos for all of us.
I agree. Just to complete on the comments and related to your questions for the jobs, I would say that the corporation, the big groups have a responsibility to promote more diversity and inclusion for women, especially in tech. I worked for Alstom. It's a train manufacturer company, and I'm not a tech. I'm not an engineer. Studied finance and literature, so my profile was not the typical one that you could hire. But I know that the fact that I have been hired is part of a program to encourage different profiles, more diverse, different, to have a different perspective on the different subjects. So I think that this is something we need to promote, especially in areas where maybe Morocco is an exception, but in other African countries, we need to promote that, to encourage more women to work in big corporations, either they're related to tech or not, but it's something that you have to promote. Until we get enough balance, I would say, or more women involved, I think it's something you need to push. So the public relations, governments, that they have to promote something, so they have to push it. If it's not done by the private sector, you need to push.
And that brings us to the next tier. It's so now we'll keep using my daughter as an example. She's gotten the job. She's worked there for 15 years. And now it's her time to kind of climb into the senior leadership roles. My only hope is that she will have people around her that will champion her and support her and view her as a leader, because not only do women have the struggle of not being able to reach the C-suite as much as men, or even senior vice president roles, but also the perceptions of women are often slightly unfair, to some people, right? I'm a very direct woman, and I've been very fortunate that I've had a lot of men in my career champion me.
Yes.
And I'm not sure I could have climbed the ladder without their support. But they respected me and they valued what I had to contribute. And so if you don't have that, because most of the leadership roles are men, right? So it kind of is something that is everybody needs to kind of be
Yes.
responsible for. So my question for you is, in your experiences, and how do you bridge that gap? And what is it you're seeing, in your cultures or in your careers? I'm just curious, like, what is the biggest challenge for that next leap for those women?
I totally agree with your story. That's why, I mean, we hear often about mentorship being a good tool. Definitely it is. But I would suggest we move to the next level, which is sponsorship. So, like personally, how can I be in the role of general manager for a multinational company, for instance, Philips Lighting, if I am to be assessed only on my previous experience? You need someone to believe in you, and that was my case. I had an amazing leader, bet on me, believe in me, support me through the errors of the starting of the job, so that you can access that first experience and build from there. And often, like for example, in France and Morocco somehow follows sometimes the direction of legislation in France. So recently there was a law voted in Morocco that companies that has public participation, they need by 2027 to have 42% representation of female in their board. But I do have plenty of friends who are in these boards, women, and they talk about how they feel isolated when she is the only one or they are two, how the stereotype that she's given to the secretariat for the board. So definitely there is something wrong. We cannot get it only by quota and by forcing companies, and they start just looking for female profiles just to check the list. We need maybe to change the narrative and come to really understanding what is the importance of bringing diversity around the table. And it is proven, I mean, statistics and even financiers, they know that. Today, companies are obliged to bring diversity in the board because the financiers and the banks and the investors are requesting that. They know that the companies that have diversity, and not only gender, but also religious, also cultural, also physical condition diversity, would lead to the best decisions because, exactly as you said, they think of the market and all the final consumers from different perspectives. So definitely it enriches the quality and the outcome of the performance of that company. So the question is, how can we stop this conversation, men versus women? I mean, we are complementary, we build families, we build nations. There is a reality, statistics-wise, that the nature of women and the nature of men make it so that the numbers are what they are. And it takes a he for she, a we for she. By the way, it's there is a network. I belong to a network here, and we work on empowering women in the companies, but also uplifting women who are outside of this corporate world by giving back and by empowering them to lead their entrepreneurial projects. So for me, and especially again to the era of AI, where one of the ethical challenges and topics that we discuss is it that the machine will take over humanity, and we are called as human species to tap into our empathy, to tap into maybe outsourcing repetitive tasks to the intelligence, to the artificial intelligence, and focusing more on social connections, on bringing back this type of philosophy of how we develop our society. And for us, I mean, to go back to the NGO, it's very important. We make the girls, through the Technovation Girls Competition, take awareness of the role they can play in their community. I can give an example of a little village called Jniba. It's very far. It's around like maybe not very far, 3 hours drive from Rabat. And by us going there and offering laptops to girls that never touched a laptop in their life, and just bringing the program and telling them, you can just observe around your community. And they were able to identify challenges. They were able to identify challenges around dropping out of school, around waste management, around agriculture knowledge. And they come up, once their innovation is unleashed, they come up with amazing solutions. So this is how we are addressing the issue, is by bringing these girls to get more involved. And we have an amazing story where the local president of the commune, of the municipality, with us from the civil society, and with the local men and women. They feel empowered, they feel involved, and they are now taking an active role. So we are moving away from that idea that that us as associations, we come from the city and we give them something to help them. They are getting empowered to think of their local challenges. They are challenged, so we say, okay, we bring one part, but you bring another part of the budget. And this creates a beautiful dynamic where we are not at all discussing these boy, girl, or man, woman issue. It's us for the community.
I think that's a great point. It's the human condition, right? As humans, we should all be working towards the greater good. And I love the idea of sponsorship. For me, I think mentoring and the power of a network, it's so very important. In my career, I gave an example of technical committee work I did in standardization, and being one of 4 women in the room of about 60 or 70 men. And what I found was, as the 4 women, we gathered close to each other and we uplifted and supported each other. And over a number of years, through that support, each of us continued to progress. So one of the women from China became the head of the Chinese delegation into this committee. I became the president of the U.S. National Committee. One woman from Germany became the chair of this technical committee, and another woman from the UK became the chair of this advisory group on strategy. So it's about the networking, and I take that where I work as well. In my career, I've made a point of keeping very close relationships with women that I think are very smart, very powerful. And within CTA, in my department, we are 60% female. So I'm really happy that these women have followed me through my career.
Thank you. I think I can only agree on that. So from my experience, I had several mentors during my career. All of them were men. And really they helped me navigate through the corporate world and the industrial companies, etc. So I was really grateful for that. And some of them I didn't even ask to be my mentors. They just, I think they just saw me and they were like, okay, we need to do something for her. So
I doubt that. I doubt that. I'm sure they saw you and thought you had a very promising future.
Yeah, oh, she looks lost though. But they really advise on different aspects related to, one of them, for instance, when I arrived, I remember, I was working for Alstom. Alstom is an industrial company. Most of the people are engineers. So it was like, okay, you're not an engineer, but you need to understand the products, right? We're a company who has several projects, several key projects, and we have also some products you need to understand them. Okay, we don't need you to know how to build those products, but you need to understand what this is. This is the different part. This is the different subsystem. So we spent like 6 months, and every evening he taught us how to recognize the different aspects, etc. So to me that was really important, and I remember that it's something that I tried to do when I reached several positions. I make sure that I mentored, advised, supported other women. I make sure that I advise on the different career decisions. I make sure that I also train them. So I think that it's a whole package that we have to provide. It's mentorship, it's training, it's advice related to your career choices. So it's a global aspect. And it's also something that you find with the entrepreneurs. So most of the times women like training, they like networking, visibility, and also access to finance. So that's a global package that we have to provide to make sure that we get more diversity and inclusion globally.
I think we have time to touch on one more thing that Veronica already jumped in on is consumerism and women. And I bring this up because is the fourth point we wanted to make is, you know, to Veronica's point, the role that women play in the buying power globally, right? And then think about the corporation, if it's all male leadership, right? Or your entire marketing team are men, but the majority of the decision making is going to be women, right? And I'm not saying that men shouldn't be in those roles, but to not have your core demographic reflected on your staff, right? So my question, we'll just do like a quick round, like, you know, what is something you think that companies should be focusing on, you know, given the point that women play such a major role in buying their products?
Well, I think globally we already see a lot of initiatives by leading companies that understood the importance of bringing diversity, equity, and inclusion. There are already programs. So to take this on the next level of what could be generalized is mainly using tech to address female-specific challenges. So as I said, today technology is getting democratized, is getting simplified, is getting cheaper, and we know the power of tech in terms of productivity, in terms of personal development, for example, tackling issues like self-help, all these areas to empower and to strengthen the women to play their role that we know. The woman is the core of a society. She makes sure to maintain the balance on a family level, on a society level, and we should appreciate that and nurture that by using technology to bring more solutions. So for me, as you said, I mean, it's a simple math. The female purchasing force is getting to trillions, as Veronica said, and having products that address that market is very important. Otherwise, we'll get ourselves obliged to purchase products like cars, for example, and it's not. I would say it's a missed opportunity. So nothing like personal about it. It's just math. More growth, do specific products for female.
I agree. And I think as more female entrepreneurs start to take that leadership helm and they start seeing there's an opportunity for us here not only to lead our own companies and change the world, create a revolution, but to take that leadership role, to know that they have the power to be in that leadership role. You know, recently I got elected as the president of this U.S. National Committee, but it wasn't easy. In the IEC, the U.S. National Committees existed since 1906. So from 1906 to 2024, it took that long for a woman to hold this role. But the reason why it's important to make sure that not only are we feeling confident and empowered, but we take these challenges. We go take those roles, and we feel confident about it, right? Because hopefully, I've been inspired by women I've seen in leadership positions. I want to inspire the next generation. I joke around about my desire to plan for the future all the time, but I've got a plan towards retirement. And in this plan, I'm already mentoring the women that I hope, not that I hope, that I know will replace me, and they will do it very well. And I'm excited about that future.
Thank you. Just to complete a few words, I would say that it's also important to have women designing and involved in the design of these tech tools, so that to make sure that the algorithms are not biased, I would say. We've seen some example. So it's really important for us also to get involved upstream to make sure that what we design, the technology we're using, is not Also we reflect both genders now.
So to close it out, like a lot of it is all about perspective, right? Regardless of who you are and what role you're playing to help further this agenda. And to the point of like diversity, inclusion, and diversity of all kinds, like different way people are different, they think different, they bring different things to the table. Women bring different things to the table. I had one gentleman who reported to me that was super introverted and almost got fired. And then I realized, like after working with him over time, he was borderline genius and ended up like going on to New York and helping to build the iHeartRadio app because he just wasn't very personable, right? But that doesn't mean like it's everyone's job to find everyone's gifts. What are your gifts? What do you bring to the table? Men, women, all races, all religions, whatever that is, everyone brings something to the table. So I want to thank these wonderful ladies for sharing their stories and for everyone for joining us at the WEF conference.
Thank you, Janine, for the moderation.
Yes. Okay, so we're coming to the end of the World Economic Forum in Dubai. World Electronic Forum in Dubai. in Rabat, sorry. I'm a bit tired after 2 days, I would say. But I thank you very much, everybody, for being here all the time. And it's been wonderful. We've had great experts telling us about things we didn't know. I think I've learned a lot in the last 2 days. Helps your case as well. So before I call Lamia to the podium, I'd like to thank Lamia, Jessica, and her team for this fantastic work they've done. And now let's have Lamia Emma, the chairman of this event, closing the event. Lamia, the floor is yours.
Yeah. Thank you, Gustavo. Thank you, all of you. Merci à toutes et à tous. Et, c'est fini. Merci pour votre accueil, votre venue, pour ceux qui se sont déplacés, qui ont cru en le WEF 2024 au Maroc, à Rabat. Ça n'a pas été simple pour l'obtenir, parce qu'il faut savoir que c'est la première fois que c'est une femme qui est à la tête du World Electronic Forum, l'événement en fait, depuis 1995 que ça existe. C'est la première fois en Afrique, c'est la première fois au Maroc. Ça a été une vraie fierté et un vrai bonheur de le faire, ça n'a pas été simple. On a réussi, des grandes personnalités nous ont suivis. Merci à toutes les organisations qui sont venues, donc la CTA, tous les TII, la Tribune qui nous ont suivis au départ, Carter Capital, le Vatican. Bon, vous avez bien vu qu'il y a, voilà, on a quand même des partenaires qui sont de très très gros calibre. Clinatech qui est venu avec toute la technologie, l'ingéniosité dans le domaine de la santé. Et le but, moi, mon objectif, le premier jour où on m'a proposé dans quel pays on aimerait faire le WEF, on cherche un pays pour le faire. Tout de suite, j'ai pensé le Maroc, parce que je suis née ici et j'ai grandi ici. Après, je suis partie à l'étranger parce que je regardais de loin le développement de mon pays. Je me disais, c'est now, c'est maintenant. Qu'il faut qu'on mette de la lumière et que j'amène avec moi toutes ces belles personnes, c'est des personnes d'un aussi gros calibre. Je vous remercie tous de m'avoir fait confiance pour partager ça. Et les premiers à avoir suivi ces TII, et je les remercie infiniment parce qu'ils nous ont aussi, ils ont cru en mon projet, ils nous ont accompagnés. Et ça fait de ce WEF-là un WEF voilà, réussi grâce à vous tous, grâce à votre accompagnement et grâce à votre support. Nos sponsors nous ont aidés, nous ont suivis, nous ont cru en le projet. Donc on a livré avec des panels de très gros niveau. Donc on a traité l'intelligence artificielle et l'éthique, comment l'intelligence artificielle, elle peut être portée demain et comment on doit accompagner la jeunesse pour qu'on puisse être sur la bonne voie et qu'on ne se plante pas. On a parlé sur le futur des télécommunications et comment on va utiliser la data, la gouvernance de la data, la crypto-monnaie, comment la tokenisation d'assets deviendra l'avenir de la banque demain. Et aussi comment la santé va être révolutionnée grâce à l'intégration de la technologie et la suppression de fait de molécules chimiques qui peuvent détruire d'autres choses. Et comment aussi des organisations comme la CITIE, comme le CES de Las Vegas, permet de donner de la lumière sur la technologie et sur les innovations dans le monde grâce à une plateforme, parce qu'il faut aller vivre. Hein, le CES, moi je le vis depuis une dizaine d'années, et c'est une expérience incroyable où on met en lumière sur toutes les technologies, les innovations mondiales, on les valorise et on leur permet d'être visibles sur un plateau mondial. Donc tout ça, c'est beaucoup de travail, c'est 1 an et demi de travail, une équipe formidable. Merci Jessica, merci Aminata, merci Guillaume de l'autre côté, Charlie, merci Fatia, merci tout le monde. Pour tous ceux que j'ai oubliés, désolé, merci à tout le monde parce que ça n'a pas été simple. Et merci à toutes les institutions, Karim qui m'a suivi, Karim Amor qui m'a suivi au CES, qui m'a aidé, qui m'a accompagné à monter une délégation marocaine pour partir au CES à la dernière minute, parce que ça a été organisé en 10 jours et on l'a fait. Et aujourd'hui, voilà, c'est la dernière ligne droite. Dans quelques secondes, on clôture. Et ce soir, je vous revois tous, j'espère, au dîner de gala pour clôturer et faire la fête et prendre un verre d'amitié tous ensemble et imaginer un avenir tous ensemble. Parce que le but de tout ça, c'est de faire le business ensemble, de faire des partenariats ensemble et de donner naissance à des nouveaux projets, des nouvelles visions, des nouveaux sujets de partenariat de manière à ce qu'on puisse créer le monde de demain. Là, on l'a réfléchi, maintenant, il faut passer à l'action pour créer des choses ensemble et pour faire que demain, on puisse avoir un Cleanatech au Maroc, par exemple, ou que TII puisse faire un partenariat avec un grand projet institutionnel avec Karim ou avec d'autres institutionnels marocains, ou que, par exemple, on ait un stand Maroc au cœur du CES de Las Vegas et que ce stand puisse rayonner, faire rayonner les startups marocaines, mais aussi les startups africaines, parce qu'il y en a besoin. Il y a besoin de créer ça et que je pense que le CES est prêt à accueillir le Maroc et à accueillir l'Afrique et ils seront heureux de nous avoir avec eux. Donc voilà, merci à tous. Très bonne soirée, très bonne fin d'après-midi. Et merci à tous ceux qui nous ont suivis.